Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. This is on 3 Agents. I try to come here every Thursday at 1 o'clock to give you just a short little chat about things that I've seen in real estate that help agents, that help teams, that help new agents, help agents that have been in the business for 30 years. A lot of great people are on 3 Agent. There is Kyle Whistle, there is Marti Hampton, there is Tina Call. There's just a lot of people here that know a lot about real estate at a high level. So I hope you'll join us every week. I really only take about 15-20 minutes. But today I'm going to talk about how to change real estate, elevate your real estate business from a hobby to a full-blown career. And I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage because I've never had real estate or been in real estate as a hobby. It's always been a full-time career for me since I was in my 20s and I got my license. So I'm in a little bit of a disadvantage there, but I've worked with many, many people who've had real estate be a part-time gig, part-time income for their family. It's really more of a hobby for them. Maybe they were in a crowd that they were very their sphere of influence. They had a lot of clout in a sphere of influence. So they only use real estate really for those specific needs. But I've also worked with some people that started out real estate as a hobby. Maybe their children were really small and they wanted to spend a lot of time with their children and they were able to do so. And then when their children got bigger and did other things away from home, they had all the time in the world to make real estate a full-time career. So the segue is really what I'm going to talk about. And, the first question I've got to ask you is what you truly want from your involvement in real estate. That's a question only you can answer. So it's a really, really important question. I love the quote by Abraham Lincoln when he said, I believe that folks are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. So I think people get out of real estate about as much as they decide they want to get out of real estate. Lincoln also said you were responsible for your face after 40, but he said a lot of good things. But the main thing he said was that you just got to make up your mind what you want. And many, many people are just letting real estate happen to them instead of diverting and using real estate as a huge income that it can be. It can be a multi-million-dollar income. The question is, what can your mindset handle? What can you really believe? Because to have the mindset in real estate to make it a multi-million-dollar business, you got to think a little bit differently than you do if you take real estate as a hobby. So I think you would know that. But you must understand every endeavor you ever do has got a price to it. So if you're doing real estate right now and it's a hobby for you and you're just taking your time and you're just doing what comes up, that's great if that works for you. I'm not asking you to change. I'm just wanting to talk to the people that want to change and have decided that they're going to step up and do something extraordinary with their career in 2024. That's the person I want to talk to. The truth of it is I've seen people double their business in 1 year. Maybe they were selling 100 houses and they sold 200 houses, or they sold 400 houses and they actually went to 8. It can happen, but it comes at a price, and you got to make that deep down gut decision. Okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it for real. I love what Mike Ferry, I've listened to him for a long, long time. He says people overestimate what they can do in real estate in 1 year, but they underestimate what they can do in real estate for 3 years. And so I would respectfully ask you to think about that, where you want to be in real estate in the next 3 years, and certainly in the next 1 year too. But some people get into real estate, they have some really quick success. Oh gosh, I can think about some really good years that we've had just recently where it seemed like you were in an apple orchard and it was ripe harvest time and all the apples were falling and you couldn't move fast enough to get all the sales that you could possibly get. And that's really what happened to our market, let's say 2 years ago. So I know that real estate can be different. You've got to change. And I know that it has changed during the last year. It's changed tremendously. So you got to have the adaptability and the resilience in this career, because real estate's not going to stay the same. And that's part of why you love it, is because it's not the same. So the biggest obstacle to doing anything in life is to make a deep down, profound, gut-wrenching decision that you're really going to do something with this opportunity this year. So when I think about that we're in a time in history where we're all about instant gratification. And during that time of real estate in the last couple of years, when we've been picking up those ripe apples and getting those sales, we got quick results. But it really overshadows the importance of a long-term decision. You know, I always ask, are you a short-term player or are you a long-term player? Are you going to be in real estate 5 years from now, 10 years from now? If you're very young, are you going to be in real estate 20 years from now? Because that's what a long-term player will be. They will have made that decision. This is my last stand. So how you can achieve anything that your mindset says is possible for you. And so, you know, I was talking to somebody just a few minutes ago, how some people can look at an opportunity and they can actually see a big opportunity. And another person can look at that same opportunity and they don't see it as big. They just say, oh, you know, that might happen someplace else, but it won't happen for me. And so it really comes into play about what you believe is possible in this coming year, and what you will fight for, and what you will make that decision for you. So you know what you believe in, your own limitations. I don't have to tell you, they're there. And so what I'm really asking you to do is to think deeply before you make the transition about, you know, the transition from just having real estate kind of happen to you, taking it as a hobby, and then really making it your income earner that it can be. So I think the first step in doing something like that is just a simple self-assessment, goal setting. You know, I actually was looking through some old notes. I've got notebooks and notebooks of where I wrote down where I wanted my real estate business to be. I mean, just over the past 20, 25 years, I really have a hard time throwing away those notebooks, because they mean so much to me that I put the thought into it and wrote down those goals of where I wanted to be as far as sales were concerned, as far as strategies were concerned, as far as every aspect of the real estate business. So, I've got if you want to see some of those notebooks, come over to my office. I'll show them to you. But here's the next thing I would say. After you do that self-assessment, after you write down and journal some of your ideas of where you want to be, and it must be written down, folks. I want you to do one more thing. I want you to have a holistic approach at your life. I want you to look at 2024 and say, okay, I want to do this with my business, but I don't want my health to suffer. And of course, that's got to do with your morning schedule, which I've talked about a lot, which I think is absolutely crucial to being productive. Your spiritual growth, your family relationships. You really don't want anything to sag. And if you, I want to tell you the truth. I've been in real estate a long time. And when I'm in real estate, I actually talk to a lot of people during a regular work day. And sometimes when I get home at night, I'm just through talking. I'm just a really quiet kind of sit in the corner and read a book. I don't even really like TV. So because I've talked out. But then it came to me that I wasn't putting as much zest into my home life, into my relationships with my family, as I was into my career. So I changed my way of thinking about that. And I started, you know, I don't know, it's going to sound tough to you, but I really said, I got to treat this family, these relationships, like a job. I got to see how much love, how much life I can breathe into them. how much, because you bring the energy. I always tell my team, you bring the juice for everything you endeavor in life. And if you're totally depleted at work and you hadn't got any energy or positive energy left to divest in your relationships, you're not going to do very well. If you haven't got any positive energy left to divest in exercise, in keeping your health as good as you can possibly get it. That's part of that holistic alignment that I think is going to be really important, because you don't want to be successful at real estate at the loss of everything else in your life. You want to be a winner at every aspect of your life. So those are some things I want you to know about. There's always more to do in every aspect of your life. And I want you to know, give yourself some grace, guys. You and I are still a work in progress. We haven't arrived. We are still working hard. So let's talk about, I'm going to give you some ideas of what not to do if you want to turn real estate into a thriving career. So first thing I would say to you is don't minimize yourself. Don't underestimate yourself. It's so easy to do. I've said some really terrible things to myself in the mirror. I really have. I hope you haven't. I try not to say them out loud since I got cognizant of them, but I tell you the truth, I can get down on some Marti Hampton. So verbally, I want you to be mindful of the words that you say out loud, but also the internal words that you say to yourself. It's really, really important. And it's really hard to do. So you never give yourself enough credit. I'm a person who honestly, just naturally, for some reason, never gives myself enough credit. I really don't. And from where I came in life, I've done okay. So, but I don't want to talk about okay. I don't even like that phrase, okay. I want to do fantastic. I want to do the best possible effort. But giving yourself credit is hard to do. So that's one really good thing you could do with a journal. If you have a journal, just jot down a couple of things that happened good today. Talk about the good. Talk about what you're grateful for. Just spend some time doing that, even for a few minutes. They have there's something that I read that was so encouraging to me, because honestly, during my life, I've had periods of time when I was really, really strong into exercise. And of course, I felt just great with those times. But then there's been times when maybe I had sickness going on in the family or something else going on, and I couldn't be as active with exercise as I was at those other times. And it was just, there's a difference there. But I've read this study, and it said even if you could only do 5 minutes worth of exercise, maybe that's 5 minutes of just running really hard on a treadmill, maybe that's 5 minutes of lifting weights, but they say even just 5 minutes affects your whole day. So when I heard that, it just lit a fire under me, and it made a minimum standard. And certainly I try to do more than 5 minutes. Don't be shaming me now. But honestly, that gave me so much encouragement. So I said, I use Alexa. Alexa tells me what to do a lot of times. So I get up in the morning and I do certain things, my little morning routine. And then I'll say, Alexa, set a 7-minute timer. Because I figure with 7 minutes, I'm at least going to get 5 minutes out of it. And I work hard. And that's when I don't have time to do a longer exercise period. So I hope that helps you out. But I want you to not leave out cultivating relationships with your family, certainly, but also with people, with new people. Bring new people into your life in 2024. Really, the only thing that's ever going to change you is the books you read and the people that are surrounding you, that you surround yourself with. And so bring some new energy, some new relationships, and work on the relationships you already have. Those are very important things. So cultivating those relationships with your heart is really something that I think is worthwhile. I also think deeply caring about people is something that I always want to do. It's not easy to do, but I always want to do that. The next thing I would say about don't burn out. That sounds so easy. And real estate has a high burnout rate. I don't know if you've noticed it or not, but there's not a lot of people that stay in real estate. I can't remember the exact statistics, but out of the people that get their license, it might be something like 87% of people will not be in real estate 5 years from the date they get their license. So it has a high burnout rate. And there's lots of reason for that. And I've experienced all those reasons, but fortunately, I've maintained the course over a lifetime of career in real estate. So don't burn out. I would say that learn how to break during the day. This is something crazy, but real estate people are people. It's easy for me to get into a conversation, not a particularly productive conversation, because I like people. I like to talk to them about what's happening. But even just getting up and walking around the office, I remember doing that very, very early in my career when I was really working hard, and then I just need a break. So I'd walk around the office and chit chat a little bit. Please don't do that in an office that has a problem with it. But I think when you don't want to burn out, you need to learn how to take breaks during the day from intense work that I'm going to talk to you about doing it in a few minutes. So learn how to segue between income producing activities. Don't burn out. Everything you do is about being more productive in one day, about squeezing out every ounce of productivity, about moving forward. It's about the process. It's not about when the bell rings and the sale has made. It's about moving forward, just like that darn turtle in that race with the hare. And I'm so prone to be the hare, the rabbit all the time, but the turtle run the race, and that means the process is more important than the actual buy or sell, which is what we seem to only celebrate in this business. So don't. The next don't that I've got for you is don't participate in drama and negativity. And if gossip pulls you away from your income producing activity, you're not focused on really wanting to make this segue between a hobby and a very fruitful career. I'm going to give you an example. When I first was in real estate, I was in a very popular office, and there was a lot of agents that were in that office, and I was under pressure. I was a single mother with 3 kids, and they required a lot of money to raise 3 kids. And I was going through that office, and I had to go through the kitchen. And in that particular real estate office, everybody congregated in the kitchen and they would talk. And so I remember going through there long enough to hear this agent. She had really long fingernails, which I've never liked very much, but they worked on her. And so that she would say, well, I lost this deal and it was $420,000. And then I lost this deal. And then this bad thing happened to me. And that was over $1 million worth of productivity that was down the drain. And my eyes got big as saucers. And I must have thought to myself, wow, is this what they talk about in the kitchen? I got to go through here, man. I can't stop to talk with this crowd. And I really didn't. I just going through that kitchen, I caught that much negativity. So I just want you to understand that participating in drama and negativity will take you away from the focus, and you'd be surprised how easy it is to sink in that hole. So, but when you're wasting time, you're wasting life, and life is precious. You know somebody right now that didn't live to the age that you currently are. So improve yourself, spend your time improving yourself, improving your circumstances, improving your relationships, and improving others, giving them a chance to improve themselves as well. So I think that's important. And it's going to take discipline to create the future, to build the future that you want. So when you're really in line with your intention to build a fantastic career, you're not going to be drawn into as much drama and negativity as a normal person would be that's just letting real estate happen to them. So the next don't I got a couple more. And one of them is don't forget to celebrate. And boy, that is tough for me. Celebrating and doing self-encouragement. I don't know if you have a problem with it. but I've got a problem with it because I can look at me and see all the flaws that need to be fixed. But I don't want you to do that. I've got to have you embrace what's good about you and put as much life into every moment as you can. Don't forget to celebrate. You know, I used to spend a lot of time on the phone. I still do. And I had a rule that when I was calling people, you know, sometimes people can be negative. They can be mean to an agent that's calling them, especially if that agent doesn't have the right approach. And I learned how to have the right approach, by the way, so I've got much less of that happening to me. But I'm going to tell you something. It dampens your day if you end on a call like that. So I had a rule. If I had a bad call, I would never leave on a bad call. I would pick up the phone until I had a positive call, and then I would call it a day. So the next thing I wrote down is don't forget to embrace love, even though you need a lot of work. Fall in love with yourself and others. You know, this business, guard yourself, because this business can make you cynical about people. You know, that's where prejudice comes from. Oh, well, that happened because I did a deal with that person or with that type person. That's where prejudice, you can't do that. You'll be dismissive of people, and everyone is different. You've got to give them a chance. So try to put love in every interaction that you do and really feel where they are coming from. And don't forget to put adventure in your life. You know, I'm a kind of read by the fire kind of person, but you got to step out of your comfort zone. I've got a good friend who actually bungee jumped with her daughter one time. I don't think you could ever talk me into doing that, but she did it because she was afraid of doing it, and she actually stepped off that day, bungee jumped. Oh my goodness, what an adventure she had to tell about. But don't ever get bored. And this is a great business because, you know, if you work for a traditional job, a traditional corporation, and you got a couple people at work that annoy you, you're going to have them there for as long as you work for that corporation, unless they get transferred out. But you know, in real estate, maybe the people that are irritating you right now, you won't have to deal with next month. So you've got that adventure. Stay open to opportunity. Like I said, I've got a problem with just being fine or just being okay, because I think it was Keller that said life is a daring adventure or nothing at all. And this is from a blind lady who did amazing things with her life. So we've got more assets to do. And the last thing is, of course, do no harm in any way to others. I love Hippocratic Oath for doctors. First, do no harm. I don't hear too much about that anymore. But when we are dealing with a situation, we need to make that situation better. And then a couple of the last things: maintain your integrity, of course, and beware of your ego, because your ego is there. And if you're in real estate, you've got one. You actually have to have one to be in this business. So I'm going to give you a few musts now, and we'll end up. But the things you must do to turn this career around, to increase sales, to turn from a hobby to a full-blown, just incredible business, is you must count the cost. Because it's going to cost you something if you do this. It's going to be different than it was last year because you want different results. So you've got to be different in every aspect. So the second thing I would tell you is assess your work ethic. Really assess it. I don't know how to tell you this, but I hear a lot these days about work-life balance. And I respect that. I think there's some people that have, you know, got that pretty down pat. But to really be more productive, something's got to change. And what's got to change is you got to put more mileage in that 8-hour-a-day work, or you got to put more hours in. In real estate, sometimes it's both. You got to do both to get it off the ground, to get it up to where you really got that thriving income. So sometimes both, but make a decision that that's what you're going to do. Make that firm commitment. Well, I was trying to dock a boat one time, and my husband yelled at me and said, "This is not rocket science." That day didn't end that well, but anyway, I'm going to tell you that trying to tie up a boat that's a big boat that the dock is bouncing around is not easy, but he thought I should be doing it a whole lot better than I was doing it. But, to get really, really good at this business, you only really need to do 2, maybe 3 things really well. You can delegate the rest, but go deep. You got to figure out what your core competence is. What do you do better than anybody else in this industry? What do you do better than anybody if you run a team, anybody else? What is your core competency to bring business, to bring productivity in? And the next thing I would say is don't ever confuse prospecting, because I believe prospecting, no matter how you turn it around in your head, is part of this business. Never confuse prospecting with follow-up. They're 2 different functions, 2 very different things. So change your mind about prospecting and see the creativity that you can bring to that endeavor. That's really, really important. I would say, lastly, learn how to master a database. That's really, really good. By the way, there's so many distractions. That is why teams are growing at a breakneck. More agents are coming in, going to teams. More agents that are actually experienced are going to teams because they're figuring it out, folks. There's too many things to do in this business, too many distractions that can just keep you bogged down. So my advice to you in 2024 is to do less and delegate more, and to spend 60% of your time in your core competency. And if you need our help, reach out to us. I forgot to tell you, I'd love to have any comments that you've got, any questions that you've got. We'd love to help you in any way. So I'll stick around for a minute or so, and wishing you again a great 2024.
All right, everybody, chat box is open. You can also DM us. Feel free to put in some questions for Marty. I'm going to run through a couple here. And also let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover in 2024. One thing that we had requested a lot was some kind of like schedule on the website. So we're actually going to have that now. If you go to 3comagent.com and if you click on Marty's Mindset for Success, end of the day today, we're going to have a schedule up for the next 3 months with the list of topics that you guys can look through and be like, oh, we really want to be on that topic, and ask some questions about that. So make sure you do that. Let me run through a couple of these questions. This one we touched on a little bit in the last seminar, Marty, but we have somebody wants to know, what was your process of hiring your first assistant or realtor on your team?
Well, I hired an assistant who also had their license, which I think is a really good practice. It was a mom that wanted to have the hours to work while her children were in school. So she worked from about 9 o'clock until about 1 or 2. And that was my first assistant. And she went on to become an incredible real estate agent who ran a team. But that was my first hire. The second hire was a buyer's agent who, because by that time I decided to work on listings and to focus my core competency 60% of the time on getting listings. So that was my first 2 hires.
Here's another one. If you're on your own, how do you balance sales, marketing, and the administrative tasks?
That's a tough job. I mean, that's the reason. I think teams are growing. So how do you balance? What brings you income? What brings you a sale, a listing, or a sale? What does that? For me, that was calling people. Before people call you, you must call them. So I didn't start out in marketing. I think maybe I did some little small things, but my core competency was to get on that phone and call people who raised their hand and said, I want to sell my house. Maybe that was a for sale button, or maybe it was an expired. So how do you balance that? I would say, which one's bringing you in the most business? Spend more time on the marketing. If you're getting results, I talked to somebody this morning who was actually doing something on a postcard thing. And I think the results on most postcard mail outs are like 1% or something dismal. So you spend a lot of money on those things, and you got to judge how much it brought in, how much it actually does. And usually, if you send out a postcard and you don't call after, you won't get as much result as if you send out a postcard and then with a certain purpose on that postcard and then call after you've sent that postcard, because now the recipient sees you in more than one place. So I hope that helps a little bit.
Yeah, I think that does it for questions. We had somebody just say they want to watch this again already. If you check our email with the link that you clicked on to come into this room, it also has the archives at the bottom of the page. So just click on that. This will be uploaded by the end of the day today.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Happy New Year. If you need us, reach out to us. We're here. We'd love to hear from you. Take care.